Y'all, it's Ryan Monso, and we're going to do the theme song, get people in here, and get going.
Yahoo!
I'm Stuart Gus, official personal injury attorney of U of H Athletics. As you know, a great quarterback wins championships. If you've been injured in an auto accident, big or small, you can trust Gus to quarterback your case.
Call 866-TRUST-GUS today. Principal Office, Houston, Texas.
So U of H wins it 76-66, 10-point win. You were tied, I believe it's 55 all, and U of H dominates down the stretch. What can you say about Jamal Shedd, Juwan Roberts? Emmanuel Sharp had a great game. Starns, what were your thoughts on what you saw?
Jamal Shedd is this team's closer. When they tied it, Utah tied it because Jamal Shedd was out, and the U of H offense just didn't do anything. I think it was 2 or 3 straight possessions where it was either Damian Dunn or LJ Cryer let it go down, let the shot clock run down, and then they go down. They just don't score. They don't get a good shot. Utah immediately comes back, ties it, and in the timeout, or they get a foul, they could have gone up, and then in the timeout between free throws, they put Jamal Shedd back in, and they double him up in points from then on. As of right now, when the Jamal Shedd off minutes against good teams, when LJ Cryer and Malik Wilson didn't play much today, but in previous games, he was sort of running the offense a little bit. When LJ Cryer is running the offense, it's just not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And but that's why it's good to have a guy like Jamal Shedd there. And he took you home there. The ball immediately started moving better. They got a good ISO to Terrence to start that stretch. And then it was immediately ball moves, ball gets swung to LJ Cryer in the corner. He hits 2 threes, and that was basically the end of the game there.
Yeah.
It felt like. And
I'm going to tell you, Kelvin was ecstatic about this game. You haven't seen it yet. He may not even show it, but he loves this. He wants his team challenged. He wants to see what he's got, He has a day off tomorrow, and he's going to use it to his advantage, and he did there, I guarantee it. But he said in the post game that we're growing and that he was ecstatic with the win. And I hope U of H fans can understand that this is what they need. You could play blowouts in the preseason in the AAC and be fine because that's what you were going to see all year. But you need to get beat up a little bit. You need to be challenged. And they were. I mean, freaking Madsen hit 8 threes. Just to give you an idea, U of H's record for three-pointers since the mid-'80s is 9. Robert McIver did it 3 times, I think. And
U of H hit 8 threes as a team.
Right. And it did not feel like they hit that much. But, I mean, what can you say about that guy? He was so impressive. I want to punch him in the face just the way he looks. But you have to, I mean, that's an offensive performance you may not see again this year.
This is a Utah team that just really runs its offense really well and has a lot of guys who can just kind of score from around the court. They pointed out Carlson, who had 31 points the night before.
Yeah. The one Carlson, there's 2 of them.
There's
There's
two.
a Ben and a Brandon, which I didn't understand early in
I
the
didn't even
game.
realize that.
And I was like, they changed his number? But
Yeah.
no, it's two of them.
And-
And they're not even like related, I don't think.
And so they got a lot of different guys who are able to score. They're really big. I think they're one of the second tallest team in the nation. They have they
That's wild.
kept 2 7-footers in the game for a lot of the game. And so this is one of those teams. This is one of those games that you need to play in the preseason or in the early season, because it's one of those teams that when you get to the tournament, when you get to March, you're going to be playing against teams that you're not used to, at all. And it was also good, I think, for Houston that Utah ended up going for that 1-3-1 zone and then pressing, because who knows when they're going to see that next. Probably sometime in the Big 12.
For
But
sure.
they need to see it, and they played pretty well against it. And it's games like these that are, like sort of Kelvin said, these are the growth points. These are the games that you point to where you really sort of figure things out early on.
U of H scored 27 points off the bench. Utah had 2. And that's a huge difference. It shows your depth. It shows that if you have a starter, JV Air has not had a good 2 games. And other guys have come in, they've gone with 4 guards. Jojo Tugler's played his minutes. He played some pivotal minutes there at the end.
Yeah.
And made some great plays in the first half, and then made freshman plays. And that's good. He needs that experience. And I mean, if they're not looking at film already, they're about to. Don't worry. But I was really impressed with the way they responded. That's really what you're looking for. So you got Utah on a one-day prep schedule. Like, you did some early scouting of them, obviously, but you just didn't know a lot. Mm-hmm. And you scouted last night's game, and you thought, okay, Carlson. And then Madsen goes nuts, and you weren't ready for that. But they responded. I thought Juwan Roberts played a great first half. He made 2 of the dumbest fouls on 3-point shots. The second one especially, just maddening. But played well, had 12 rebounds. Jamal Shed, he played really well. He missed both free throws in a trip, which I don't know that I've ever seen him do. And that was surprising. But I thought overall you have to be happy with how this turned out. This Wisconsin game that Connor's talking about, when we started doing the NIL stuff, we wrote some stuff with Jamal Shed, and Jamal went down the court at the end of Wisconsin and lost track of the game clock. And it expired before he was able to get a pass or a shot off. He was trying to pass it, I think. And he said he went and cried. And just a few weeks later, there was a similar situation, and Jamal made the play. And I think it was Wichita State. I'm not 100% on that. But Wisconsin was in Maui, in Las Vegas, in this second game of that, I believe. And U of H I think it was a 20-point game at the half, and they brought it all the way back. And, there are some similarities to this Utah team. Obviously, this Utah team has more sides. But, Jamal, that was a really big game in his development. And I think a game like this can be big in the development of some other guys. Emmanuel Sharp, he's coming off the bench and played a really nice game. I thought he did some really nice things. Madsen shot a 3-pointer that kind of airballed there near the end. And Emmanuel came down with it and looked like he was about to shoot it right back up into the hoop. And he realized it, thankfully. But that was kind of funny. I'm going to talk to him about that this week. I mean, maybe it's Thanksgiving. I forget that there's a holiday this week. But
oh, geez, there is, huh?
Yeah. So a lot of guys were missing shots off the front rim, free throws off the front rim. That shows you tired legs. They played Saturday, they played Monday, they played Thursday, they played Friday. That's a lot of basketball, and they practice their asses off every other day.
That's 5 games in 8 days.
Yeah, or 9 days. 9 days, because 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays. But I think they're just tired, and I am almost certain Tuesday's a day off, and they're going to need it. It might come Monday, but they'll probably be traveling, and so I don't know how that works. But yeah, so Madsen, my biggest takeaway is Madsen, you're just not going to see anything like that the rest of the year. But then they handled it. They really responded to the adversity and showed you exactly what you needed to see. And blowouts are boring. Gets eyes on your team from casual viewers. That's true, but this is going to end up being a really pretty solid neutral court win. It could end up being like a low end quad 1. It could be a high quad 2, just depending on what Utah does on the road. But this is going to end up being one of your good wins when you come down to it.
Yeah, they're never going to see a guy like Madsen go off like that again. Probably, but also probably never going to play a team that plays 5 white guys all game.
All right, you're 22-ish or so. Have you ever seen 5? I mean, you can't even see that at the YMCA. It just doesn't happen. There's never, ever 5 white guys. And I mean, woo! But yeah, no. And headbands. How many guys wear a headband? Galen Robinson wore a headband in his photo that they released when he was signed. So it was something in high school. And I've given him hell for that for years because who wears a headband? But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting look. You're probably not going to see that again. Did you watch any of Dayton?
I watched them beat LSU.
Okay, what do you think?
St. John's. They were down. I mean, they were down in that game, and then they went to that press, and there was a guard on their team who went off towards the end. I'm trying to remember his name.
That's awesome. What happened? Oh, it just fell. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Dayton's good. I think they play. That press is going to be interesting to see how U of H sort of deals with it. That's another one of those things where they see it's good that they get to see that early.
Yeah.
And
because in previous years, you really haven't seen that until you played Memphis.
Yeah.
And Memphis would do it, and it was so annoying just because of the athletes they had. And Dayton, it appears, has a pretty good team. I don't know, but I mean, it kind of looks like it. I watched just the last 5 minutes or so, but it was just a foul fest and really chippy. But if any team can play really chippy, it's this U of H team.
That sort of style of play, I think there are points in this game where it just kind of went scoreless and neither team sort of scored. I think at least one in the first half, one in the second half, and that always just favors Houston. Always.
Yeah. Well, Utah went 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes without a field goal, but they scored 9 from the line. And when they went in the double bonus at the 12-minute mark, you thought that was going to be the absolute story of the rest of the game, and it wasn't, thankfully.
Nobody fouled out somehow.
No. I mean, everybody had 4.5, but nobody fouled out. I really thought you saw something from Emmanuel Sharp. I am so interested to see how he develops this year. Terrence Arsenault did not play a bad game. I thought he had a really nice run. When they needed somebody to go to the hoop and make a basket, he did it a couple times.
Yeah.
And
he and JoJo to come back early in the game to sort of spur that run to finally take the lead. That was him and JoJo's defense doubling in the post. I think they sent their 7-footer back all the way to the free throw line before he committed a turnover. And then he had that first bucket out of the timeout to break the tie. He struggled with Carlson, it felt like.
Well, once they popped Carlson in the face,
Yeah.
he kind of backed down. It felt like his whole timber kind of changed.
Yeah.
And, if you can physically and mentally dominate a guy that big, and I mean, they said it in the broadcast that JoJo does not play like a 6'8" guy. He plays so much longer. His shot comes off longer. He can do different things just because of how freaking long the guy is. And, if he can neutralize a guy like that, that shows quite a bit. And I was just so impressed with him. U of H was really good at the bucket. I think they were 8 of 9 at the bucket, which this is about a 60% over the last 4 or 5 years team at the hoop. And so if you're getting that kind of production close in, that's huge.
Yeah, that was sort of there were times last year where they just, I think with the smaller guards that they had with Marcus and Jamal playing so many minutes, and Tremont, who was a little more of a mid-range guy, it seemed like that's a lot. That it's tough for those guys to go in there in the paint and score, and they just have so much more size, I think, at the guard position or just the wing position in general. LJ is still a smaller guy, but Damian's a big guy. He's great at getting into the lane and sort of backing guys down and using his body to find angles. Emmanuel Sharp had some great plays where he sort of drove in and then hit a nice floater. And then Jawan Roberts early on in the game was really the anchor bringing them back. He was a monster early in the game. On the rebounds and just going down low. He was really the only big that U of H had that was totally comfortable going up against those bigger guys. Javier, like you said, he had a really tough game.
Yeah.
And JoJo had played some good minutes, but he's only a true freshman. This is his 5th game.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, this is you could just tell like he had a really bad travel when he had the an angle on one of those big guys and he just took an extra step and he
got excited.
He got excited. You can just tell he's not quite there yet, but this is sort of the time where you figure that out and you work that out. It's kind of like it was last year. Early on in the year, it seemed like this guy, wow, it's like gave your sanity for a little bit, and then once they started playing some real teams, you could just tell he wasn't quite there yet. And I do think he's definitely improved, but I think you're going to see you'll still probably see him struggle a good bit, especially in the Big 12 against those bigger guys. Against a guy like Hunter Dickinson, that's going to be a really tough matchup for him, and who knows how many minutes he'll play in that game.
Yeah. I think JV, it's the 4th game, 5th game, 5-0. And so he had 4 starts before this. And, he's played different roles. And he's coming. It's up to him to make that next step and to get comfortable as a starter. And he might not start against Dayton. If they're expecting that kind of pressing defense, he just may not be in there to start the game. And, how does he handle that? How did things go? I am not someone to get way up or way down this early in the year, especially when you have a coach like this who recruits like this. And there's always a next guy coming. They're really excited about Jacob McFarland. He's really thin. He told you he gained 30 pounds. I don't see it. but they're excited about him. JoJo Tugler. JoJo's still growing into his body, and I think JVR is kind of the same way. I can't imagine having my wingspan is about 3 feet. And so, I'm not knocking anything over when I move throughout the house. Those guys are dealing with just a world that we just don't understand. And, how are they dealing with that? And how are they doing that in space and figuring that out against today, especially just really big guys? JVR may have never played against a 7-footer, much less 2. And so, is that a mental thing? Is it a physical thing? Is it they just had a better plan for you? I don't know. But, let's see what they do between now and my benchmark has been the A&M game, December 16th, about a month from now. I think it's 4 weeks. And how much growth do you see in this schedule? You got to go to Xavier, and that's going to be a pretty good game, I think, a pretty good atmosphere. But otherwise, the point of this schedule is so that you can work on things and play with lineups and see who works well together and what works together. And you know what? They're figuring it out.
We're figuring it out too.
We've only done that once, I think. And that was at Baylor, and they just didn't want us there. And so, we're figuring it out. Starnes sat outside last week. I don't know if y'all saw he's wearing gloves, and that looked pretty weird. If he's wearing gloves tomorrow, call him out because it's going to be like 75. Good job. Good job. I don't know who we're talking about, but I agree 100%. The death lineup. Well, Jawan's got to make free throws. And, that's my boy, but he's got to make free throws. And you're not going to be in the game late if they're not confident you can hit 60%. And he struggled, and he's got to figure that out. But he has been a monster, and especially in that first half. I think he was at 11-9 around halftime and got to 13 rebounds, I think. So, what else? How about football? Woo!
Football, yeah. Ceremonial groundbreaking.
Yeah, you went to that, huh?
Yeah, I went there.
Do you want to give some super duper details? Because I think everybody is waiting just to hear all about
it. I'm Stuart Gus, official personal injury attorney of U of H Athletics. As you know, a great quarterback wins championships. If you've been injured in an auto accident, big or small, you can trust Gus to quarterback your case.
Call 866-TRUST-GUS today. Principal office, Houston, Texas.
And that was your report on the groundbreaking. Thank you for that, Starnes. That was fascinating. Tillman and Dr. Couture said some interesting things after the groundbreaking. A certain reporter was chasing them to their car and got some I haven't heard anything about Dana really comments that were kind of puzzling. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, I'm sure. I've been saying for weeks that I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think they're moving on. I think Dana's your guy, at least for another year. That can change if things go crazy haywire in the last 2 weeks. But that's an indictment on itself, is you're basing your future on 2 weeks. And I don't like any of that. But we'll get into that more tomorrow. This team needs to come out and play a good game. They haven't done that at all. I mean, Sam Houston, when was the last time they played a good game? Like at least 3 quarters of solid play. And you need that more than ever tomorrow.
And it's going to be tough because Oklahoma State, I think, got that hangover from Bedlam out of their system when they beat UCF. So they're not going to.
This has not been a fun week in practice for them.
Yeah, they're not going to get caught off guard.
No.
by Houston. This isn't going to be one of those types of things, and it's not like it's not like the weather's going to be weird or anything.
Nope.
This has to be a game where U of H lines up and beats Oklahoma State for a full game. The offense plays well, the defense plays well enough, and especially
I think the defense has been pretty well over the last month. I don't think that's been your concern. It's been the offense. It's been some special teams. And you just have to be better. And Dana called out the receivers this week specifically. And let's see what they can do. You're not going to have Matthew Golden. It's going to be Stephon Johnson stepping in and Dalton Carnes. And can they make the plays? Can Donovan be better early in the game so that you have an opportunity to do something in the first quarter? It's been a while since you've played well in the first quarter. Only scored one touchdown the entire year on an opening drive, which is kind of nuts.
That was Texas Tech, I assume.
That was, yeah. And then you scored a field goal against TCU and then against Sam. So we're going to be back tomorrow after the football game. And then Brad and I are talking about them Cougars Sunday night after the basketball game against Dayton. So, Brad, by the way, we're doing that Sunday night. I don't know that I told him yet. But so we're going to just be kind of with y'all for the next 48 hours. So football tomorrow, afterthoughts after that, Dana, Tillman, Renu, Pez, everybody. And let's see if that team can come out and put a good game together. Kelvin Sampson is something like 19-3 or so in tournament games in the last 4 or 5 years, like early season tournaments. I wouldn't bet against him, especially with 48 hours to get yourself right and to come up with a game plan. And so we'll see. You got the police there, Starns. So that's it. That's all we're going to do for tonight. Early night, going to dinner. Am I going to dinner? Yeah, I'm going to dinner. So thank y'all. And we'll do this again tomorrow.
See you.
Gus.